What's another term for workforce? Labour force, right? So workforce, labour force, it's actually the same thing, okay? And what we are specifically talking about is this question, or this issue. So what we're talking about is we're going to be talking about who's in terms of the workforce, and who's out. So who's in, tick, who's out, cross. Does that make sense? We're going to try and decide who's in, who's out. Okay? So the first thing we know is that in order to be considered in the workforce, what kind of age range are we talking about? 15 plus? 15 plus, 15 plus, 15 plus. So it has to be 15 plus. Then we have to think about, okay, if we are being considered in the workforce, do we have to work 36 hours a week? What about 32? What about 103? So we need to work for remember that's the symbol? Yeah. At least 1 hour per week. Now, we're not going to debate whether that's a good measure of whether someone's employed or not. We're just saying these are the official statistics. Okay? Official statistics. So, if I was going to categorise these two things together, what do these two things have in common in terms of who they apply to? Right? That if I think about someone 15 plus and someone who is employed for at least an hour a week, the common factor that we're looking here is that these groups are employed. Now, for those at home, if I'm employed, it means that they have a paid job. There's actually another group that's included in the labour force that doesn't fall into that category. There are people who are seeking work, but what is their current situation? So they don't currently have a job, right? Seeking work, but not currently, can we see that okay? I think so. Not currently employed. Yeah, so that what we're saying is, when we count the workforce to the labour force, we count them. Right? So here, unemployed.
The unemployed and employed.
But only if they're seeking work. Because that's how... then they're not considered... Yeah, that's right. So when I'm talking about the labour force, maybe it's worth putting over here. So then you might say, oh, who's out? Everyone who's not this, right? But let's be a bit more specific, shall we? I no longer want to work. I'm retired, right? So we are, if I'm retired and sort of finished paid work, that phase of your life is over. Yeah. Yeah. So if I'm a full-time student, but there's a complicating factor here, isn't there? You can be a full-time student and also be working. Yeah. Right? So full-time student right? So if you are studying only, you are excluded. But if you start working for how long a week? 1 hour. Even 1 hour. So then we can talk about that we actually have full-time carers Can we say full-time carers? Not full-time careers, full-time carers. Lol. Full-time carers, so let's put the range of things. Maybe we do domestic duties, right? That's more than doing the washing up. Okay, maybe you are the full-time caregiver to some children. Maybe you are looking after an elderly relative, right? So you're a full-time carer. Now, the other category of people that are totally excluded from the labour force are people that are absolutely not interested in looking for work, right? Not interested at all. So essentially, remember, UE is just an abbreviation for unemployment, right? I'll just put a red thing just to make sure we remember that. UE, so people, PPL, people without a job, plus they're not seeking work, right? They just don't have a job and they're not looking for work. So we don't classify them in the labour force. Remember, these people are out. They're not included. Not included. Let's think now about a couple of categories that would fall here, right? If we're talking about people that have given up looking for work, I know that you had an idea previously. What would they be? So what we can do, we're just going to put it up here. So one group might be the hidden, right? They've given up. They're hiding from the labour force because work is bad. No, it's great. It's really useful. Yeah, you make good friends, you know. Yeah, you make friends. And then the other thing is there is another type we can talk about, which is where your circumstances mean you are unable to hold a job. Whether that is maybe hardcore, right? Hidden unemployment, hardcore unemployment. Maybe you have some kind of disability. Maybe you have some kind of criminal record. If we're then looking at this setup, that it's very important that when you are doing your calculations, that you exclude all of these people, right? So let's just do it one more time. Let's go through the process over here one more time. If we are getting down to the labour force in any country, okay, you might be watching this in a country that's not Australia. Who knows, right? Where do we start if we're going down to the calculations for the labour force?
Population.
Yeah, so we start really big, right? We start really big with the population. I know we're doing this over and over again, but it will come up again and again. Where do we go from there? So what we're going to do is from the overall population is we're going to take a smaller subset, which is the working age population. And again, for Australia, we're talking about 15 plus, right? Yes, I know, 14, 9 months, 15 plus. From the working age population, where do we go? Yeah, right, because remember, not all of these people are going to look for jobs, right? So from here, what we'll go is we go to the labour force, the workforce, or border force. No, not border force, that's different. So then we go here, labour force, workforce will connect right here in terms of who's in. This looks like this was deliberate, but it was not, right? So population, working age population, labour force, and then these group of people here.